For a Catholic, when it comes to choosing the right life partner, the stakes are extremely high. If you get the decision wrong for some reason, then you spend the rest of your life as a single person away from your partner. Hi, and welcome to the first video. Today we're going to talk about 3 things to consider when choosing a Catholic partner. So firstly, is your partner open to having Christ as the center of your relationship, the center of their lives? If they are the type of person who will say things like, I don't feel like going to Mass today, or I just don't like going to church, or I just don't go to Mass, run. You don't want to wake up one day and be that person who goes to Mass and has a partner who is just not interested in anything to do with Mass. Are they going to be a person who is interested in important dates in the church calendar? Take, for example, Easter. The person who's going to be hands-on with fasting, Lent, and all those types of things. Are they really going to be a person who's going to walk with you in that journey towards Christ and having a closer relationship with Christ? Are they going to be the person who understands the importance of the sacrament? Take the Eucharist, for example. During your walk in the faith, you're going to encounter a lot of struggles against temptation, despair, frustrations, you name it. It's all going to be there. And the Eucharist is a sacrament which actually gives you the strength to power through all those problems. If you have a person who does not have a knowledge of that sacrament, you're going to find yourself struggling, bearing not only your burdens, but also a person who doesn't have that food, that Eucharist, to push them through. Walking with Christ in the Eucharist every week or even frequently, attending daily Mass, makes all those struggles, despair, temptations that much easier to deal with. Having a partner who is invested in Christ, who is invested in the Mass, is going to make your marriage that much more fruitful and actually help you grow in the way of Christ. That is, after all, what marriage is meant, to actually grow together in the way of God. If you look at our lives today, we have all these tools that make things that much more easier for us. Take your computer, for example. It helps you get onto the internet, do your work, check your emails, get onto social media. This is the same thing with all the gifts that Christ has left us in the church. The gifts of your sacrament. These make things, the burden of life, that much more easier to bear. Now, imagine having a partner who doesn't involve God in their life, who doesn't take those burdens to Him. Because what God does for us in the faith is He takes away the burden. Some of the problems which you have, be it in your work, for example, your work is not going very well, friendships, your family life, bringing all these problems to God in prayer, giving yourself time to actually talk to Him and actually engage with Him, takes that burden away from me. It makes me less likely to be snapping at other people, for small problems. And that's what happens with us sometimes. We become that much more irritable. If you have a partner who actually brings all these issues to God, they are less likely to crush you with their problems. Some of the problems just need to be brought to God, to be dealt with by God. And having a partner who has actually been able to do this throughout their lives for a very long time makes things less difficult for you within the marriage. They don't bring issues which will crush you. Sometimes these problems which you bring to God could be serious trauma which happened to us in the past. And these types of things you cannot bring to a partner. They need to be brought to God in prayer. So it will be a huge advantage for you if you have someone in your life who is able to bring these problems to God and deal with these issues with God. And secondly, do they have a consistent prayer life? Are they able to wake up, pace themselves in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening? Because it doesn't help to wake up 2 months down the line after having a rigorous prayer life, crazy prayer life, and you find that I don't want to pray today. I'm just so tired. I just feel exhausted. I just want to take the day off. One day turns into 2 days, into a week, and you're not praying anymore. So you need a person who you're going to be able to be consistent with. Read the Bible every day with. Pray. Read the books on the saints. Those types of things. That gives you a decent amount of knowledge on the common problems out there. Problems that are going to affect your marriage. Spiritual warfare. Using foul language. and potentially using foul language in front of children, around children. God forbid that. At times, we are prevented from falling into grave sin by Christ. A human being may be focused and have his heart burning for Christ today and be focused on something totally different tomorrow. It's a reality. It's just basically who we are as human beings. We are weak and we need His grace and help. We need to walk closely with Him and not let go of His hand. Praying the rosary is of great help, particularly with weaknesses. Protection from the diabolical. St. Louis de Montfort, in his book, Secrets of the Rosary, mentions nobody who prays the entire rosary should ever fear being led astray by the devil. A healthy relationship with God and a consistent prayer life helps you also understand a lot about yourself, your weaknesses. When you've been walking with God for a very long time, you realize how many times you fall to sin and how many times you've actually gone to God seeking forgiveness. Father, I'm sorry for actually committing this sin against you, and He will forgive you, being the loving Father who He is. And then a week later, you fall into the same sin, or maybe even 2 weeks later. Then you have to humble yourself and go to God again and ask, Father, please forgive me for the sin which I've committed against you. And this teaches you a lot. It teaches you patience with yourself, humility. It teaches you that you are weak as a human being. And having walked this type of a journey with God for a while, in which you have seen your weaknesses, you are much more likely to be more accepting of your partner's weaknesses. For example, if your partner sent you a text, please pass through the shops and get me A, B, C. And you get home, I forgot to get A, B, C. And you go to her and ask for forgiveness. I'm sorry, I didn't get A, B, C, I forgot. She understands. The next day or the next week, she asks you for the same thing. You forget to get whatever it is that she sent you to get. If your partner has been walking in the way of Christ for a while, she's much more likely to be understanding of your weaknesses. If they have not been walking in the way of God at all, they are much less likely to not be understanding of your weaknesses, because they have not had to go and ask forgiveness for God consistently for the same thing over and over again. Is your partner obedient to Christ? I remember back when I was young, there were all these rules. Some of them I never liked, some of them I thought frustrating. For example, when I was a kid and I had to go to school the next day, I'd have to go to bed, say around 8 o'clock. Maybe you're watching some interesting program on TV, some action-packed film, and they tell you, hey, it's time to go to bed. And you had to comply because you're young and you knew you had to go to school the next day. So that's basically part of how life was like then. Or, for example, you had a curfew and when you had to be back home. Say your parents wanted you back by 4 o'clock. You couldn't walk into the house at, say, maybe 9 p.m. in the evening, or maybe 10 o'clock in the evening, or go to bed at, say, 2 a.m. in the morning watching your favorite shows, etc. Those rules were very important as we were growing up. And these rules are also very important in marriage and actually preparing for marriage. If your partner has no problem breaking the laws of Christ outside of marriage, they will not have a problem at all breaking the laws of marriage whenever you get married. That is an important thing. Obedience, learning obedience, and walking in the way of Christ teaches you to be obedient and to sacrifice, the qualities which are important and very necessary in a marriage. Marriage requires discipline and marriage requires sacrifice. And these things become much easier if you have been walking in the way of God for a while before actually considering marriage. A relationship based on Christ is much more grounded. Take chastity, for example. If you have been dating your partner for a while and you have stayed away from fornication, this works to your advantage. Why? Because whenever you fall into the problems of bringing fornication into a relationship outside of marriage, you create powerful bonds which are actually going to be very difficult to break if it is that you find that this is not the right person for you. You cause yourself unnecessary pain trying to break those bonds the time you find that, okay, this is not the person I should be with in the long term. Engaging in these types of acts like fornication makes it much more difficult for you to discern the person. You find that you struggle with regards to so many emotions which are now tied up that you are not objective anymore with regards to, is this the right person for me? Or I'm not to be with this person. Ask God to show you, to make it evident to you, if this is the person who He wants you to be with or not. The way of love in a relationship, in a marriage, is very fundamental. It's one of the foundations which keep marriages long-term together. Love and sacrifice. If you like this type of content, these videos, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps a lot with the channel and also with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're interested in digging more into the subject of marriage, click on the video above, or is it on this side? Or just click on the video and enjoy.